It's midnight. You're lying in bed, phone in your face, scrolling through home listings, and every single house that doesn't look like it survived 3 natural disasters costs $500,000. The photos look nice enough: fresh paint, wide-angle camera tricks, words like charming, cozy, and starter home. But you know what they really mean: tiny kitchen, old carpets, repairs waiting to happen. And somehow, the price tag still says $500,000. And you're sitting there wondering, did everyone else suddenly become rich, or am I missing something? Here's the truth. It's not you. It's the math. And today, we're going to do something almost nobody in real estate wants you to do. We're going to run the real numbers and figure out who can actually afford a $500,000 house in today's market. Not who the bank approves, but who can truly afford it without turning their life into a financial stress test. Because qualifying for a mortgage and sleeping peacefully after signing it are two completely different things. Let's start with reality. In many American cities today, $500,000 isn't luxury anymore. It's normal. That price doesn't buy you a mansion, it buys you a modest home. Maybe 3 bedrooms, maybe a small yard, maybe a commute that eats an hour of your life every day. Cities like Denver, Austin, parts of Florida, suburbs around major metros, this is the new baseline. And yet, the median household income in America sits around the mid-$80,000 range. So we're asking households making around $80K a year to purchase homes costing 6 times their annual income. If that sounds insane, congratulations, you're paying attention. But everyone keeps telling you it's possible. Mortgage brokers say you're approved, social media influencers talk about buying homes young, your parents remind you they bought their house on a smaller salary. So what's the problem? The problem is that approval does not equal affordability. Let's break it down. First obstacle, the down payment. Traditionally, buyers were told to put 20% down. On a $500,000 home, that's $100,000 cash. $100,000. Meanwhile, most Americans don't have anywhere near that sitting in savings. Even disciplined savers struggle to build that amount while paying rent, student loans, groceries, transportation, and everything else life throws at you. So what do most buyers do? They put down 5% or 10% instead. Sounds helpful, but it introduces something called PMI, private mortgage insurance. And despite the friendly name, it doesn't protect you. It protects the bank in case you default, meaning you pay extra every month because you couldn't afford a large enough down payment. Think of it as a penalty for not already being wealthy. Now, let's talk about the mortgage itself. Assume you somehow gather $50,000 for a 10% down payment. That leaves you borrowing $450,000. At current interest rates hovering around 6 to 7%, your monthly mortgage payment lands somewhere near $2,800. And that's only principal and interest. You're not done. Next comes property taxes. Depending on location, that can easily add another $400 to $600 per month. Then homeowners insurance, another few $100s monthly, especially in areas prone to storms, fires, or floods. Then maintenance. This is the part everyone forgets until something explodes, leaks, or collapses. A general rule is budgeting around 1% of a home's value annually for maintenance. On a $500K house, that's roughly $5,000 a year, over $400 per month. Add PMI on top of that, and suddenly your housing cost isn't $2,800. It's over $4,000 every single month. And that's assuming nothing major breaks, no roof replacement, no foundation issues, no surprise repairs. Now here's where things get uncomfortable. Financial experts often recommend spending no more than about 28% of your income on housing. So if housing costs you around $4,000 a month, your household income should be roughly $180,000 a year to stay in that safe zone. Even using looser banking rules, you'd still need around $150,000 annual income, and only a minority of American households earn that much, meaning most people buying these homes are stretching themselves dangerously thin. So who is actually buying? Some are dual-income couples in high-paying careers, some receive family help or inheritances, and many simply stretch until there's no room left. Let's picture a realistic household. Two working professionals earning a combined $160,000 per year. Sounds comfortable, right? After taxes and deductions, they might bring home around $9,500 monthly. Subtract over $4,000 for housing, they're left with about $5,500. Then come car payments, insurance, gas, student loans, health insurance, groceries, utilities, phones, internet, child expenses. Suddenly, what looked comfortable becomes tight. Savings slow down. Emergency funds disappear. Retirement contributions shrink. Every unexpected expense becomes stressful. New tires, credit card. Medical bill, payment plan. Broken appliance, financing. Owning the home doesn't feel freeing. It feels like constant pressure. Checking bank accounts before buying groceries, losing sleep over bills, delaying repairs because money is tight, and this is for households making far above the median income. Now imagine families earning $100,000 or less trying to make this work. At that point, buying a $500,000 home isn't just tight, it's financial fantasy. Yet, homes continue selling at these prices. Why? Because the system encourages it. Sellers price homes based on recent sales, banks approve loans using formulas that allow risk, real estate agents earn commissions when deals close. Nobody in the process benefits from telling you to walk away. But once you sign, you're locked in. You can't easily undo the decision with major consequences. So people stay stuck, working jobs they hate, afraid to change careers, afraid of layoffs, watching savings disappear. And somehow we've normalized this. We call it adulthood. We joke about being house poor. We pretend it's just part of growing up. But struggling to afford your own home shouldn't be normal. And here's the harsh truth. For most households, a $500,000 home simply isn't affordable right now. That's not laziness, not failure, not poor budgeting. It's a housing market disconnected from income reality. Home prices have surged far faster than wages for decades. Costs climbed, salaries didn't keep pace. Yet we still tell people home ownership is the only path to wealth. But wealth isn't just owning property. Real wealth is having freedom. Freedom to save, invest, handle emergencies, take career risks, sleep peacefully. If a mortgage consumes your life, that's not wealth. That's stress with granite countertops. So what should people do? Run the real numbers. Not what the bank approves, not what friends are buying, not what social media shows. Look at what you can truly afford while still saving money, enjoying life, and preparing for emergencies. Maybe that means buying a smaller home. Maybe it means renting longer. Maybe it means moving to a different area. Maybe it means waiting. And that's okay. There is no trophy for buying a house too early. No award for struggling silently. If buying means constant stress, it's not a win. And stretching yourself financially can backfire fast. One job loss, one medical issue, one major repair, suddenly everything collapses. Being realistic isn't giving up, it's protecting your future. Home ownership should improve your life, not trap you. And remember, everyone's situation is different. Some people truly can afford these homes comfortably, but many others are quietly drowning behind freshly painted front doors. You don't see the stress, the debt, the sleepless nights. So stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. Make decisions based on math, not pressure. Based on stability, not fear of missing out. Because the smartest financial move isn't always buying the biggest house you qualify for. Sometimes it's choosing peace of mind. Sometimes it's choosing flexibility. Sometimes it's saying, not yet. And that decision could save you years of financial anxiety. So if you're feeling priced out, frustrated, or behind in life, take a breath. You're not failing. The market is just incredibly tough right now. Focus on building savings, reducing debt, growing income, investing wisely. When the numbers truly make sense, buying will feel exciting, not terrifying. Until then, there's nothing wrong with waiting. because the goal isn't just to own a house. The goal is to build a life you actually enjoy living. And before you go, if this breakdown helped you see things more clearly, do me a favor. Hit the like button so more people stop falling into financial traps. Drop a comment telling me what housing prices look like in your city. And subscribe because next time we're exposing another money myth that's quietly draining your future. Your wallet and your peace of mind will thank you later.